Welcome to the Betfred Boxing Show. Myself, Dom McGuinness, and Anthony $1 Million Crolla. And Anthony, we're going to start with the weekend that we just witnessed. We're going to then have a look at all the events coming up this week and the weekend crossing over the pond and all the rest of it, and crossing as far away as Sheffield as well, because we'll have a look at Fight Zone's latest offering and what we just witnessed in Sheffield, the pair of us as well. But we're going to start with the fella everyone's calling the monster, and he's living up to the billing, the three-weight world champion and the sensation that is Naoya Inoue, because he has done it again in some spectacular fashion again, just making light work of everybody he comes in against now at the moment. I mean, you've got to make a case for him being pound per pound top three already, no?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think for a while a few people have thought that, but another unbelievable performance weekend. Hit the body so well. I think people was watching, he was feeling those body shots through the TV. There was some really great display of power punching, and he's becoming now that fighter that everyone wants to see, because he's guaranteed excitement. And yeah, he's reaching out now. Sort of Japan, he's been a superstar for a while, but he's come on the global stage now.
When fighters come through the different divisions like he has, and we've seen it over the years with fighters like Pacquiao and whatever, I mean, the list goes on, but is he at the right weight? I mean, is it frightening that he could actually be fighting at the wrong weight and he's doing what he's doing?
There's a great chance that he could still make the weight below. I think very likely he could. But we won't be surprised to see him go up the weight still. I think one thing which a lot of people see him as the hardest puncher in boxing, pound for pound. Unbelievable puncher, but that's good boxing brain as well. And there's some huge fights being talked about now. Again, the rematch, there's a possibility of Deontay, which I'm sure we're going to get onto. He's stepped in at just over a month's notice, hasn't he, to fight Casemiro. So, interesting.
Well, Deontay's a likely destination, you'd think, again, if he can get past Casemiro, but there's no
fight.
Guarantees with that, though, is there? That's the thing.
Not at all. Casemiro's a quality fighter, and Deontay is having this Indian summer in his career. Obviously, that has to come to an end at some point, but he's just come off a fantastic win. But then again, I'm not sure the situation with Rigondeaux, and people going about people who've been avoided, and he might not always have the style to entertain a lot of people, but he's an unbelievable fighter, and I know we don't know how old he is. However, I think he's been one of the most avoided fighters in recent times. There's no denying that. So I'm not sure what the situation is with the winner fighting Rigondeaux or not, but I think the fight that a lot of people want to see Deontay come through against Casemiro, and they'd love to see the rematch with Inoue.
Well, now with Deontay's performance against Inoue, when he took him the distance, that just has made his stock rise even more. I mean, he's having a great Indian summer, Deontay, anyway, with what he's done recently with that victory a few weeks ago, and now putting himself back in the firing line and everything else. But again, nobody's giving anyone much of a chance in that division against Inoue now.
No.
But with Deontay, everyone would think, right, here we go again. Can he take Deontay out because he takes everyone else out?
He was Inoue, and I think, listen, a lot of the boxing sort of hardcore, me included, I'd love to see how Rigondeaux could do, an unbelievable boxing brain, but would you think, with the age, will Inoue catch up with him at some point? But listen, the fight that a lot of people want to see is the rematch with Deontay for sure.
When you think about Inoue and the knockout ratio is over 85%. The way he's taking people out, like Jamie McDonnell, if we remember that, who was struggling at the weight. Obviously, he was a massive bantamweight, wasn't he? But
yes, he'd lost the battle with the scales, but still,
and he's done that. He's done that plenty of times as well. I mean, he's got to be pound for pound one of the hardest punchers in world boxing. Can you think of anyone else that in any division?
There was always, obviously being in the heavyweight division, you could say the biggest puncher in boxing, Deontay Wilder for so long. But no, I think pound for pound, I think you'd struggle to find many boxing experts or people who pretend to know what they're on about who would say there's an harder puncher pound for pound than Inoue, for sure.
Particularly impressive when it is at the lighter weights.
Yeah, and like saying, it's a weight where he's moving up to as well. Very explosive fighter and an unbelievable puncher.
Yeah, another man that was in action, Charlo.
Yes,
against Montiel.
Won comfortable against Montiel. Almost a shot on, I think, a few of the cards, I think. I think with Charlo now, he's calling out for the big fight. I think he's calling Golovkin again, and is the timing right? As Golovkin slowed down a little bit, and it's sort of that breakout fight. Because I still believe Charlo needs that breakout fight, and I know it's sort of away from boxing, but it always helps build a fighter's profile when you have mates like Drake, tweeting about you, posting about you on social media. He's trying to get out there, him and his brother, two
Maybe what we should do
fighters.
is maybe bring some showbiz into boxing. Maybe that's the way. Maybe some YouTubers, maybe. Should we bring some in and just to boost?
You know, that's an idea, to try and attract new fans.
Make it a bit crossover.
Possibly, yeah.
Right,
Possibly,
we'll have a think about that. I've got a few ideas.
I can't think why it's not been thought of before, but yeah, that you could make. So you made some good points there.
Oh well. We were both in Sheffield, moving now from stateside over here. And the weather let us down a little bit in Sheffield on Friday. We've had 3 weeks of brilliant sunshine. It's been amazing at the Fight Zone Arena. But it was another cracker, Dennis Hobson promotion. The rain didn't get in the way, and there was even a little break for the England-Scotland game.
It did, and listen, another sellout crowd, might we say as well. But no, another great night. You know, the undercard, obviously, we got all the undercard done before the main event. I think...
You mean before the football got in the way of the main event?
Yes, yes. That's exactly what I mean. Obviously, the football...
There was that little pause so everyone could enjoy the football and then get back to the box. It did work very well on the night.
It worked really well.
The football let everyone down. But
yes, of course. But I think, you know, starting there, it was good to see a few local lads on. Manchester lad Sean Fennell, he had a good run out against them. They had very reliable Jamie Quinn. One of my favourite fighters currently. He's in there week in, week out. I think the undercard, what a lot of people are talking about is Jumbo Jake Andrews. I think he brought a good half of Salford with him. I know he wasn't allowed any more tickets, but the ring entrance, everything, what a character. He fought Scott, didn't he? Scott Williams. He gave he gave a good account of himself, Scott. But listen, going out and then obviously on to the main event where Tommy Frank just fell short. But
just on that undercard, because it's always interesting when you see people make their debuts. But as you say, like, can you remember someone selling that many tickets? He could apparently for the original debut that was postponed because of COVID, he sold more than 700 tickets.
That's unbelievable.
It's not like he's got a massive amateur pedigree.
No, he's not.
Nothing like that. He's just through his own connections.
He's a character, and listen, he's got it's a very sad story. You know, it's horrendous, really. You know, losing both parents very close together. He was very close to one of them. Some Fighters Own done a great piece, very emotional piece. But very likeable lad, absolutely nuts. Come to the weigh-in as the Joker. But I think a lot of that was to do with mental health. You know, and I think the Joker film covers that a little bit. So yeah, he does his bit as well. But yeah, a character for sure. And I know he's back out. I saw it today. His camp started again. He's back out on a Fight Zone show. And if crowd restrictions are lifted a little bit, I'm sure there's going to be even more there.
Well, it was interesting again in terms of fighters that are getting lots of regular work now, which is part of the reason of Fight Zone and why it's been proved so popular and why people are getting behind it is because people are getting work, fighters are getting work, trainers are getting work, everybody's getting work out of it and people are getting to see events. But the likes of Jamie Quinn, Scott Williams, they're always in the away corner. It's been Jamie Quinn's got his own residency there now.
Of course he has, and he's just, I say it all the time about Jamie Quinn. He's a great servant to British boxing, and people like him. Make the cogs tick. You know, it's so it wouldn't work without him. You know, just giving good prospects week in, week out, valuable rounds. He's very capable as well. But no, you know, it's great to see them. And then if the main event didn't let us down, didn't go the way we wanted. Very, very close. But there's been no arguments with Guneros. I saw, you know, the promoter Dennis Hobson after it. He didn't have any complaints. It was very close. Could have gone Tommy's way, but just fell short.
Yeah, it was disappointing for Super Tommy Frank because, as ever, he had a great crowd behind him. He's really well liked in Sheffield. A cracking lad, in and outside the ring. He's a great fella.
And he was very honest after it. And he said something after it, and I said it in Country Boxing after it. This boxing's a hard game, and I say it all the time. The highs are so high, and the lows, you could just see how gutted he was. And, you know, fair play, Dennis delivered, bringing Guneros back over. And it was so close, like you say, people had it either way. It was a split decision, wasn't it? The crowd come out to support him, you can see in the background there, with the Superman capes on, and both thought they'd just done enough. And Guneros got it, and you can see what it meant to both him and his team. We saw him back at the hotel after it, and you can have no arguments, but it was Tommy shown some lovely, lovely skills, he really did. It was just where the last, you know, sort of championship rounds did Guneros just finished the stronger, and that's what gave it to him. Very, very close.
Very disappointing for Tommy because obviously he lost his O in December to Guarneros, but that was through injury. I mean, but the thing is as well, which was said to Tommy on the night, because he was so disappointed in the interview. You really felt for him after the fight. But the first one you could just discount. It was an injury.
It was,
That's,
it was
that's
just
a
like
loss that he's going to have to process this one. But it was so tight.
It was, and it would be such a better fight for it. It wasn't like he took a load of shots like that. I think maybe just got out the last few rounds, but it was so close, and that's the difference. Again, like I say, those highs, we could have very easily been saying, Tommy Frank, he got revenge. He's now going to move on to final eliminators for world titles, but now we're saying, we'll look to rebuild, and it's just, there's that fine line between being so high or, really down.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he'll be back soon enough. I know he's taking a little break this week.
Yeah,
I saw some pictures of him. He's gone away with his fiancée, so he's doing the right thing. Just needs to clear the head, get back on the horse, and he'll be absolutely right. Well, switching our attentions once more stateside, there's another fantastic fight. There's a couple of fantastic fights, and one that involves a fella that you know very well, which we'll get on to. But firstly, Gervonta Davis, Tank, is back in action. He is back. And before we talk a little more about this, producer Josh, he caught up with a fella that knows Tank extremely well, been in the camp with him for many years, Ashley Theophane.
Gervonta Davis, and he fights not on this card, but he fights later on in the month on the 26th of June against Mario Barrios. What have you made of Gervonta's career, and how do you see that bout going at the end of the month?
Yeah, like I first met Gervonta 2015 because he came. I think that's when he joined Mayweather Promotions. That was when Floyd was going to fight Berto. So I've known him since then. I've got to see him spar numerous times, and I've always respected his training team as well. I've always been a fan of his team, and just the way they go about their stuff. They train very hard and they're very professional. So I like to see how Gervonta has come about, and he's been doing great things. I think he will win this fight. I think he'll win this fight by KO. But I would like to see him go back down to lightweight and fight the other champs, because the division is just so good right now. You got Tio, you got Devin, Ryan, Gervonta. It's just so good. So I would like to see these guys long term, all four of them, get it on, because there's some great fights to be made.
Great fights, as Ashley said, remain. But the first thing, and we've said this off camera as well, that springs to mind when you think of this and world titles. Again, what are your thoughts straight away?
Listen, it's simple. It's not a world title fight. Josh Taylor, just the other week, we've all talked about how it's great to have an undisputed champion. He's got, the main 4 belts in boxing. A few weeks later, you then can't say, and this is for the world title. It's not. This isn't. So Gervonta Davis, who I think is an unbelievable fighter, and I think I agree with Ashley. I'd like to see him back down at lightweight to take part in some of those huge fights. Let's not start saying he's won another world title at a different weight. This isn't for a world title on Saturday night. No matter if it's a regular title, whatever. It's not for a world title. In Barrios, I think it's a really good fight. I know there's some people in boxing who think he could have his hands full, but I think he's an amazing talent, Gervonta Davis, and an even more amazing puncher. I think you hear from people in the game that he hits so hard, so explosive. I always say he's tiny, but it's just a little ball of power he is, and from the southpaw stance. It'll be interesting to see, but comes through the Barrios, which isn't straightforward. Comes through that fight. Would like to see him back down at lightweight, and he's been classed as one of the 4 kings, and we want to see some of those fights take place.
We were talking about Inoue before in terms of his knockout ratio, but this fella,
Davis is right up there.
23 knockouts and 24 wins.
He's right up there, and I always remember it talking to the Smiths years ago. They were speaking to Mayweather off camera, and I imagine he doesn't give too much praise if it's not about him, and he was saying off camera he hits so hard. Davis hits so hard, and I think the standout win was the Pedraza fight, wasn't it? I think the weight maybe caught with Pedraza a bit, but still it was unbelievably impressive. Like I say, we want to see Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia. There's been a lot of talk of your Haney's, your Lomachenkos, obviously Lopez. There's some great fights to be made there.
Depends as well what Lopez does as well,
because
with super lightweight being very much an option for him, and Josh Taylor who we mentioned before, who wants to step up. He's been talking about possibly Terence Crawford as being
and he's been a little bit vocal about Gervonta.
Yeah.
I think Josh, he's called out anyone.
He can do what he wants. He's got all the belts.
Lopez, yeah, and he can do that. And that's it. He's got all the belts. Yeah. He's got all the belts at 140. So no other world title fight takes place until he either vacates one of them or is involved in it.
Yeah. Good news for the Northwest is that it does look like he's quite happy to give Jack Catterall his chance, Josh Taylor, which would be fantastic, wouldn't it? And Jack would be full of confidence for that, obviously, because that's the kind of lad he is. But Josh, I'm not saying looking past him, but he is talking about the likes of Crawford down the line and all these challenges.
And Jack, it's long overdue as well. It's been mandatory a long time now, so I'm glad he's finally going to get his shot. Jack, super talented lad, great sort of counter-puncher, heavy-handed from the southpaw stance. It'd be interesting. But of course, I think Josh has worked so hard to get where he has, so I don't really overlook Jack, but there's no denying that he is looking at the names of, your Crawford, your Lopez's. So that can only sort of mean good news for Jack. But yeah, it's I'm just glad that Jack's finally getting his shot.
You mentioned the name before, which we were going to get onto anyway, which Vasyl Lomachenko returns.
Yes.
We all remember what happened in October. He went in with Teofimo Lopez, and well, it was a bad night for Lomachenko, basically.
It was. I think for me, it's crazy. It was a bad night for Lomachenko. Listen, him was an unbelievable fighter, and it was close. I think the right man got the decision. Lomachenko left it very late. He won the second half of the fight big, but he won very few of the first half of the fight, any of those rounds. And whether that was to do with his shoulder, whether it was to do with feeling Lopez's power, who knows? But I think the right man got the decision. But it's just been crazy how since then he's been overlooked to, we've talked about these four kings and how I honestly think it's because they think, listen, we'll keep him out of this, but he's back this weekend against Nakatani, who's a very capable fighter, like always. He's not doing it easy. Nakatani's coming off a career best win against Felix Verdejo, which I remember watching sort of live, over there. It was a great performance come through, but listen, it's a fight. We expect Lomachenko to come back and look back to his best, I think, stylistically. And I think remind people, listen, I'm one of the main names I'm one of the big names, I'm one of the top names in boxing. Don't write me off just yet.
Suggestions after that last fight. Well, a couple of things came out of the last fight. The shoulder that you mentioned.
Operation, yeah.
Now, it wasn't mentioned before the fight. It was mentioned after the fight.
Yeah.
And there was a few rumblings from Lomachenko, and people were a bit disappointed with some of his comments, saying, a bit sour grapes, that.
Yeah.
For someone that's achieved everything in
course,
amateur and pro.
Probably could have handled it better.
Yeah, I think it was a shock to the system, clearly.
Of course, and obviously there was Needle as well with Lopez and that. And I always say it like, if Lomachenko was fighting again, even Lopez maybe not, but I know there's still a lot who would pick him. With any of the fighters, your Haney's, your Garcias, Lopez, Gervonta Davis, who would start favourite? And even in the weight above, right up to Josh Taylor, who would start favourite, if he was to get in the room with any of them. So the way he's been forgotten about by a lot of people is absolutely crazy. And
again, when you look at the divisions, he's not fighting at the right weight.
He could still do super featherweight.
Two ways about that. He's fighting at lightweight because I think he's that confident stroke arrogant. He believes he can beat anybody more or less within a few divisions.
That's going to say, that's what I'm saying. And
but he's a super featherweight.
He's a super featherweight.
There's no doubt about it,
surely.
He's
a super featherweight. I'm pretty confident he still does super feather pretty comfortable. And it just shows the talent of the man. Talking to Inoue, and he's been hopefully a good performance at weekend, and then he's in another huge fight. Then reminds people why he should still be near the top of that pound for pound list.
I don't think people should ever forget really what he's all about, because he's still a very unique fighter. He's had two blips as a pro. The second fight was probably a silly fight to take. Try to win a world title in your second fight. And he got old manned a little bit by Salido, but I mean, really, what he's done amateur and pro.
He's going down as an all-time great. There's no denying that.
And he's not a bad one for you to have on your record. I mean, I know it didn't go your way on the night, but
it's one of them. I think I'll always look back now and think, shared the ring with him, but he is arguably the greatest amateur that's ever lived. Yeah. And obviously he's had a short pro career. He's gone in 16 fights. He's not had the most fights, but to go in for a world title in your second fight and to win one in your third against an unbelievable fighter.
To win three before anyone's even blinked.
There we go. He's a special fighter.
Truly remarkable. And I'm sure he's only 33 and he's got a point to prove now as well.
Yeah, I think there's a few more world titles.
And just give us, again, because you were in a unique position because you've been in that ring with him. And again, you fought some top operators. Jorge Linares, obviously, 2 fights with him. What was that little bit more special about Lomachenko?
It was, listen, I always think, I wish I would have done things a little bit different. And I'm not suggesting the result would have been different. Maybe would have had some success. But it was the distance. It was making you think you're in distance and just making you fall short. And then, I mean, it's no secret, his footwork is his best asset, but it was very sort of economical in what it did for it. It hit spaces. It'd just make you fall short. It'd make you feel under pressure with looking like he's doing very little. And thinking makes you tired, doesn't it? Which I believe in his training, that's why he does a lot of thinking exercise, a lot of brain exercise, a lot of brain training.
A great juggler as well.
He can do it all. He can do it all. I've seen a very sort of unique sort of athlete in the sense where he never really bothered with football and his aim was to then do 100 kick-ups and he could do that. And I think nearly anything he does, anything he tries, he becomes good at.
Yeah. Well, there is another interesting card at the weekend, and it's Matchroom Mexico.
Yes. So
again, the Matchroom expansion is still careering away, despite these COVID times we're living in as well. There's still, obviously, it's full steam ahead. So Martinez this weekend as well.
Another fun little guy, I've seen him close, I think it was the night Lomachenko boxed him, Luke Campbell. I've seen him with Charlie Edwards, which ended up getting...
Well, it was overturned kind of on the night, remember? It was a really crazy night, that, wasn't it?
But a ferocious little puncher, and obviously he's also beat our own Andrew Selby. Unbelievable puncher. I don't know, I hear sort of struggles little bits with the weight. He's only small, but it was that time. It's good to see him back, but again, another strong little man. And it's great to see him back, and I think what Eddie and the team there are looking to build him into a little future star. He's part of the Reynoso team, isn't he? The Canelo camp. It's good to see him back.
And against Cordova, you'd expect him to do the business and look good doing it, but I mean, again, it's a guy that
we don't know too much about Cordova, but he'll certainly give it a go. It's in record, suggests that Martinez does get it done if he gets him out of there inside the distance, but I think, like any Martinez fight, it'll be interesting while it lasts. And
you mentioned it there, it's kind of it's part of the Reynoso-Canelo kind of alliance, isn't it, now with Matchroom? So is this part of it, do you think? I mean, is this clever thinking possibly, just to get closer to that camp?
I think it is smart thinking, and I think, I look to build one of the little guys into a star as well, and they speak very well of each other. And I think we're going to see a lot more of Canelo working together with Eddie and Matchroom and the whole team for sure. I see a lot more of that happening.
Here's one that's going to shock you. We're going to talk a little bit about heavyweights. And it's been a while. So, Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, again, obviously went head to head. And Wilder's press conference was a bit weird.
Bizarre. I worry a little bit whether it's part of the mind games or not, but for his mental state, I think, some of the comments he's come out with since the first fight, obviously ludicrous, to be honest.
He's sticking by them, by the way, though, isn't he?
He's what?
He's sticking by those allegations.
And I thought, not that many people are interested in seeing the third fight, so you're thinking, this press conference is going to be a bit wild.
Yeah.
He said nothing, he stuck his headphones on, and then they had a 5-minute standoff where not really much happened, and it was bizarre. I don't know whether he's contractually...
He needs a playmate, Tyson, as well, doesn't he? He's kind of...
Yeah, he does. He does. So whether that's part of the plan with Wilder to try and get Tyson to take his eye off the ball, I don't know. But
Tyson
just all very bizarre.
Just kind of on his own.
He loves
it didn't excite anyone. He couldn't do anything with him.
No, he didn't, because Wilder just... So whether he's thinking, part of the mental game, listen, we might say after the fight, it was a genius move, but it just seems a bit bizarre behaviour.
And then also with Fury, when he says, I don't care what he does or who does or he or what, I'm just in there. You kind of believe that. He's kind of proved us all wrong. When we thought he might be fragile or he might do this or he might do that, he's just, again, he's shown us all up, really, hasn't he?
Yeah, of course. And I think that with, you'd be surprised if Fury don't look to put it on Wilder very early again, sort of to make those demons, revisit him. But again, I think the only interest in the fight for a lot of people is, listen, it's always good seeing Tyson Fury, but there's no denying that Wilder, as we said earlier, one of the biggest punches the heavyweight division has seen.
Yeah.
So if he does land, what happens then?
I think there'll be plenty of eyes on it. It's only
course
July the
it will.
24th. It's the big
Not
boys
long.
going toe to toe, and the similar dimensions, all the rest of it. It's going to capture again, regardless. It's not the fight everyone in the UK wanted to see. Of course, we know that fight. But in the meantime, by the way, Joshua Usyk, where are we with that?
Yes, that's obviously it's not been announced yet, but I think seeing AJ on Sky Sports News saying how the fight's going to happen. So I think it is going to happen because to be speaking the way he was, and then for it not to happen. And he was also saying that Usyk's he's not going to bring anything he's not seen before, which was a little bit surprising. But both those fights are dangerous fights. On paper, after what happened last time with Fury and Wilder, you would say the biggest worry of the fight happening is Usyk finding a way against AJ. But that's a tough fight, and you've got to give Anthony Joshua a lot of credit. That's one of the hardest fights you'd think stylistically he could take. And it's a fight with what I say. I know Usyk's team, they fancy it strongly and fancy their man very strongly.
They said it from day one though, didn't they?
Of course they did. They've wanted it, and I know sort of into Russ Abner, I know they thought Fury was going to be hard with size and boxing ability, but they fancied anyone else in the heavyweight division very strongly. It's just going to be interesting, I think. I know we're not going to start picking winners yet, but styles make fights, and I think some people are seeing how Chisora, give a great account against Usyk, but I'm not saying Derek beats AJ, but then AJ and Derek are very different. AJ won't bring that relentless, non-stop style. Usyk might have that a little bit more time to box off.
Yeah.
But then AJ's the bigger puncher than Derek. Styles make fights, and that's one where stylistically it could be a very tough night for AJ.
Yeah. Who, by the way, has been all over social media about playing FIFA with Jesse Lingard, I noticed.
Yeah,
that's
it. Yeah, I've seen a little bit of that. I don't know who was the FIFA king. But exchange on both, obviously big on social media. But yeah, I'll have to see who the best FIFA player was there.
Well, finally, in terms of Crolla's week.
My week, yes.
Again, so obviously I saw you in Sheffield at the weekend, and again, you've been back in the gyms and doing your thing. And you gave us an update on your gym last week, obviously, the Fox ABC, but you are going to stay put, obviously, after your fight, which was no foul play, by the way, involved in that. It was just an electrical fault. An
electrical fault in the football club next door, just bad luck, but I'm really happy that we're staying in the building, so we'll be in soon. I think in the meantime, I was saying we're looking to put Marky in this week. It's been a nightmare because we just want to do the clean-up, but I think for insurance reasons, safety reasons, we've not been able to. So in the next day or two, we can start that. But I'm in training with fighters. I think I told you now, Rhiannon, hopefully he's on a matchroom card. We're in one of the fight camps. Yeah. In Joe's gym, Paul Butler was in a final eliminator for a world title. That's fell through the last few days, but he's still fighting in a title fight. Change of opponent, Mexican. We saw there. Form lately, coming over, upsetting the odds, so he's got to be careful. And Jose Burton, he fights Liam Conroy, which I think is a very good fight for a final eliminator for the British title.
And that's this Friday, obviously.
This Friday night in Bolton, so we're busy there.
And there is obviously another Fight Zone card in Sheffield this Friday night as well, which is Hamed Gars
versus Liam Shinkwin,
which is a really interesting one because Liam's been out for ages, then he came back and then the pandemic's put it on hold again.
Of course, Liam's a great lad and he was a good amateur. He boxed for England a good few times and brother of Miles.
Cousin.
Hamed, cousin. Liam and Miles are cousins. I genuinely thought they was brothers.
Cousins.
Oh, there's that wrong. But the Shinkwin fighting family.
You learn a lot off me, Ant.
You do. Guys, I've heard, very talented individuals, so see him back again. There's I know Rob Rimmer, he's got a few lads out. Yeah. Pro debut of Billy Denise and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's an interesting character.
Kickboxing world champion. Tough, been sparring some of the big lads, giving a very good account of himself. Good to see him, from a local point of view. But yeah, it'll be another great card this weekend.
It will indeed. And just a final word as well, because an old pal of yours, a long-time training mate, who achieved nearly everything he set his mind to do. Just the world title fell short on, but Stephen Smith. What a fantastic career. He's announced his retirement this week.
A good friend of mine, and so I knew the announcement was coming for a while now, but unbelievable career, but for amateur, an unbelievable amateur, medalled at the Europeans, and do you know what? Just both times just didn't get that look. He was very unlucky not to go to the Olympics, which, on another day, the judges, he might have gone, through the qualifying. world title. You know, he had a few cracks at the world title. He fought a very good Pedraza.
Yeah.
Pedraza, he just fell short against when he, you know, one of his last good fights at the weight. He, unbelievable career, British champion a few times. Also, I was in the corner that night, probably the scariest knockout, one of the best but scariest knockouts I've seen in a very good fight. He was at the top of his game at the time in Gary Buckland, tough as they come. An uppercut, he's won that. It's one of the best, I think, knockouts we've seen in recent times in the British ring. But great lad, great family, and yeah, wish him all the best in retirement.
Could you imagine if you could combine all the Smiths into one fighter?
The perfect fight. Listen, if you would, you'd have the work ethic, and you know, he trained the hardest out of a lot of them.
Well, yeah, great lad, and a fantastic career. So good luck to Stephen in whatever he chooses to do
Yeah,
next. Is he
sure,
going to stay in the
successful. I think Stephen will stay, you know, around the gym a little bit. But he's a bright lad as well, so hopefully he won't have to stay in the game too much.
Right, as ever, Anthony, thank you very much, and that is it for this week. But join us next week for another Betfred Boxing Show.